Hey everyone, it's funkdoc here, and we have ourselves a 5-player game. So I'm glad to get more of these onto the channel here, because again, as I always say in these games, 5-player has a reputation among the veterans of being the worst format for serious power grid, but I think it has more depth to it than it gets credit for. If you look at the other 5-player games I have on this channel, there's really only one that was won by just bidding for big plants early and having the market stall after that. That tends to be how people assume you win five-player games, but I don't think that's true a lot of the time. If the other players involved are good and they know when to move the market and such. I really like going for 3 and 4 in these larger games. Since there's a bigger chance of bigger plants appearing on turn 2, and if you can get 3 or 4 and build just one city, you can hang low in the turn order and have a good chance of getting one of those big plants on the second turn, which won't be so much the case with a plant like the 5 or the 8. And I will always reiterate my opinion that if 4, 5, and 8 are all bought, if those plants are all bought, I think the 9 is a better starting plant for the last player than the 10. Just because coal gets so expensive at that point. We have 40 there. All right, big plant to start. ACL needs to decide on a plant to put up for bid. There's the 3, which is the plant that should be bid up. This should go for at least 4. You could argue even higher. But yeah, amitss will definitely bid 4, and I think he'll get it for that price. I got the 4 for 8, so we'll get nice values on both of those plants for these larger games. I think 3 and 4 are a little more valuable here. Could argue that you should pay an extra buck for both of those compared to your standard 4-player games. In this situation, I personally would go for the 8. I would take 8 over 9 because if you buy the 9, then the last player can get the 10, and the 10 will be a little too good with only 2 other coal plants in front of it, buying resources. So ACL, I think, is clearly deciding between 8 and 9 here. And I'm kind of afraid they might end up taking the 9, which I would argue is a mistake. There it is. Just what I was afraid of. All right, so Kremmen makes out well in that auction. $24 though is that's a rough one to come there last. That could shut down the possibility of big plants in turn 2. 40 will go into the deck. All right. Well, obviously you always buy 4 coal when you start with the 4 plant. Always buy 4 coal. Even in 2-player games, assuming the other player takes the 3, you buy 4 coal. All right, everybody buys their stuff. And sorfeyshin doesn't even buy the max coal, which sucks. That's letting off the 10 too easy. Way too easy. I think I go for Oklahoma City. I really want to stay low in the turn order here. especially with the 9 being involved, more incentive for me to just only build 1. And Oklahoma City is one of the safest spots to only build 1. Chicago is not really a safe single build on this map. You can get blocked to the north of you, and there's not really going to be a whole lot to the south and east if that happens. Okay, sorfeyshin takes a reasonable build there, I would say. I think ACL has to go into Chicago. West Coast still being left pretty wide open right now. If I were ACL, with all these other players building 1, I would just go for like Chicago, Minneapolis, I think. Actually, no, Kansas City would probably be better. Chicago, Kansas City is fine. And then the last player should go somewhere out west. I think that would be the play. This has been an awfully long first turn, I have to say. Ooh. I don't know about Detroit. I mean, I get that you're scared of amitss getting all the cheap cities there, and you want to crowd them in a little bit, but I don't think that's such a big concern since they're cornering themselves on this map the way it's set up. Brown is a bit risky when green's not in the game for that reason. Kremmen's being left with really good builds here, I gotta say. Just take Chicago. Like, ACL should take Chicago. Stop there, huh? Okay, Chicago, Minneapolis, it's going to be for Kremmen then. Oh, no, okay, interesting. Okay, very safe build there. I would have gone more aggressively in the middle here, the Chicago, Minneapolis in Kremmen spot. Okay. Pretty unusual starting builds here. I gotta say, I can't complain about my position. One way or another, I'm getting Kansas City on the next turn. That's for damn sure. Because that sets me up to threaten Chicago, and I should be able to get St. Louis in this whole area here. That whole Mid-South section, so it's great news for me. With these less experienced players above me in the turn order, I am not going to bid for 13. Because I feel like there's a chance of putting 25 on the market here. And me storing the extra cheap coal and having Dallas as a second city for only 3, that's going to be huge for me winning the 25 plant. I would give up Kansas City that way, but that's okay. So yeah, no need for me to bid on 13. Kremmen is still bidding on 13 also, which is cool. I hope Kremmen gets this, because then ACL and Sorfey can both they'll both probably buy plants ahead of me. At least one of them, I think, will get tempted by the 8. They'll see coal sitting at 2, not realizing it's not going to be that cheap for them. And I think they'll click on the 8. Nope, I think Kremmen passes now. What's interesting is ACL's probably going to end up with Chicago anyway. I suspect Sorfey will take Minneapolis. Well, does Sorfey buy a plant? Do you buy a plant here? My hope is that they will. That's what I was thinking in not bidding on 13. 13 ended up going for a fairly high price anyway, though. More than I'd be willing to pay for it in 5-player. Yep, that's exactly what I was hoping for. Let's see what the market gives us. You have got to be kidding me. I'll pass. amitss has to buy a plant now. Probably the 7 would be the one for them. It's kind of a natural replacement for the 3. Or the 6. Okay, interesting. There is reason to do that as well. Well, I'm definitely buying coal now. That's for sure. With the 8 and the 10 behind me with no coal stored. Staying at just powering one city is okay because of how cheap the coal is with the 4. It's okay. Like, if you have to, you can do it. Notice how I would have dropped 25 at cost for amitss had I bought a plant there. That's why I didn't. Anyway, I'm getting Kansas City now. amitss, I think, has to build Cincinnati next. That's going to be the build here for him, because that's going to force ACL to go Chicago instead of being aggressive and expanding eastward just yet. Meanwhile, I'm guaranteed Kansas City. Because everybody else is going to have 2 cities. Everybody else has to build a 2, so there's no reason for me not to build a 2. I'll stay bottom in the turn order. Kremmen sure is making a lot of money right now. He'll be the favorite to win the 25. Yep, Sorfey goes Minneapolis as expected. ACL may not go Chicago. ACL may still fight eastward, maybe? Now that Chicago's kind of cut off here, like the stuff north of Chicago is a bit blocked for ACL. Nope, Chicago anyway. Okay. There is a still reasonable play. It's a great spot to get into for step 2 and 3 expansion, so it makes sense. This is ACL's first time on this channel, first time I've ever even played with them. And sorfeyshin, I think, may have been on this channel once before. This is also Kremmen's first time on here, I'm pretty sure. So 36 is my max for 25 here. I have to make sure I can power 3 cities with 25 for it to be worth the money for me. So yeah, 36 is my magic number that I can pay. Kremmen will outbid us all. 2 players have already dropped, though. Just 3 left in the auction now. The fact that Kremmen's stopping to think encourages me. Okay, I managed to drive it up a little bit more for him. Unfortunately, there's a bad drop. Some of these other players should be desperate enough to buy plants, though. If not, I can grab the 12 and at least gobble up cheap oil. That's something. And ACL's deciding whether to buy a plant here now. I think they might. They might actually buy 12. They shouldn't, but they might. I really had to make sure to drive up the cost of 25 a little more for Kremmen, because Kremmen's so rich. Being able to run the 10 with cheap coal those first 2 turns is a huge money advantage compared to the rest of us. So I felt like I could comfortably drive up the 25 plan into the, the near $40 range. I really couldn't afford to be stuck with it at that point, but I figured he'd be willing to pay for it. So that's why I stopped just before the $40 mark, because that would have been a pretty big blow to me if I'd gotten stuck with the plant there. Buying 24 this early is kind of a mistake. I can see it because you don't need to run it this turn. You can let trash get a little cheaper here. But it might work out with these drops. Holy crap. Now we'll have to see if these other players, if any of these other players buy 12. That's what I'm looking for right now. I don't think Sorfey will buy a plant here. Amitss might. Because that's going to make 6 a little worse. 24 coming into the game now. Amitss might feel a need to diverge from trash. And I've seen Amitss do this in a similar spot. Second from bottom, buy a marginal plant just to make more money in the short term and risk the big drop for the bottom player. If everyone else passes, I'm buying the 12 here. All right. And 18 is in there. Okay. I think the play for me will be to Stay at 2 cities. I think that's my move right now. I still need to play the turn order game here. We are working through most of the really bad plants right now. Yeah, I think Kremmen has, clearly has the big lead right now. Sorfey, I think, will build a 3rd city. Even though they shouldn't, they will. That's my suspicion. They did buy oil on the 5, so I think that means they're going to build. That's why I'm aiming to stay at 2. I can get 2nd from bottom in the turn order now. Yep, exactly. Right on cue. Kremmen not storing extra coal is a good sign, though. I'll burn coal on the 12 this turn, I think. We need to keep attacking coal right now. Kremmen's the clear leader in this game. We need to drive up coal, do what we can to hurt that for him. And ACL even builds a 3rd city. Makes a little bit of sense, I guess. But I'm just glad it's not St. Louis, because that's going to be mine next turn. Well, actually, no, wait. No, amitss isn't going to take St. Louis. amitss needs to protect the cheap East Coast. That's what he's going to do next turn. And 15 to continue the market stall here. We don't even get to bid on 18 this turn. Well, no. Actually, Sorfey might buy 15. I could see Sorfey buying 15 here, to be honest. Like, less experienced players tend to just panic and think of their immediate needs in terms of plants, and not so much the long term. I have no reason to bid on 15. No reason at all. What's more interesting is, do I bid on 18 and risk a big drop for amitss? And at this point, I think the answer might be yes. $28 would be big for amitss. But I'm okay with dropping 28. I'm okay with dropping 28. That, on the other hand, a little bit worse. And of course 11 comes after that. So we must continue the market stall. Oh boy. I'm just buying $3 oil and then just all the coal that I can, with 15 and 25 both being involved and not having any coal stored on them. Big reason for me to attack coal here. Get the most use I can out of my little plants. I think amitss is obviously going to expand east. That's by far the cheapest cities, so it makes the most sense. That's the stuff that he needs to protect from ACL. Kremmen just needs to store the most coal he possibly can while building to 5. And building to 5 should not be hard at all with Seattle and Portland there. Cheap Pacific Northwest. That's where they're going to go. Almost certainly. Nowhere else left to go unless Fargo's left open, and I doubt it will be. Now they have the money. If Kremmen has the money to get Santa Fe, that would be pretty dreamy. Like Seattle and Santa Fe would be awesome, but I don't think they'll be able to afford that. amitss being able to afford 5 is huge. You could make a decent argument that I should have passed on the 18 on this turn. Just leave that for amitss because 18 tends not to be as important in 5-player as it is in smaller games. But I do think I can make really good money off of it. Problem is amitss makes even better money with 21 and the 6 there. Somehow. Yep, just Pacific Northwest for Kremmen. I imagine Kremmen could have stored extra coal. The fact that they're not is a good sign for me. And 19. Oh boy. We've gotten through just about all the major duds at this point. Nice thing is I am still low in the turn order, and that matters in these larger games. I still have a good base. I have a great building base for sure. I'm in a great spot with building. I can stay low in the turn order, aim to make money, and pick my spots for bigger plants. It shouldn't take too much longer before the market complies with that. Because again, we've gotten through almost all of the really bad plants left. Interesting that ACL didn't jump into Memphis. That's what would have worked best for them. In my situation now, I am not going to build any further at this point. Sorfey actually buys 11. Huh. I mean, with nobody else having a nuclear plant, I can see it. I'm not going to buy any extra resources now. Coal's already been driven up pretty decently. What I could do here, I could build a 7 already. That's an option. The other hand, I could just chill at the bottom of the turn order here. If I build a 7, that clears 2 bad plants out. And that should put us on the map on the road to get something good here. Potentially. And I'm located centrally enough in the map that I could build the 7 just fine here and not have it hurt my building too much. But I'd be giving up a lot in terms of long-term turn order were that to happen. Sorfeyshin is running out of places to build, yeah. I think what I do now... Can I do this? I can't get Santa Fe, but I can build to 7 with his other stuff. And I have a feeling I want to do that. I have a feeling I want to do that. Because we're getting close to the point where that should put good, some kind of endgame plant on the market for me. We'll do this. Let's try and move the market here. Kremmen builds, which is a little bit of an odd choice. I mean, I guess building just 1 won't affect turn order, but... Wow, Kremmen actually builds above me. Huh. That's a really, really weird move. Also, 23 in there does not make me happy. I'm just glad somebody built above me. The leading player actually built above me for step 2, which is good. All right, 39 out, 44 in. I'll bid for this. It's a huge moneymaker because uranium restock is ridiculous now. 3 per turn, yeah. Yeah, this is pretty stupid. Yeah, I'll keep bidding for this. The problem here is I'm stuck high in the turn order, so I risk getting stuck with a dud if I miss out on this and like 22 drops or something. Yeah, I'll bid for this. Sure. I have a hunch Kremmen will drop now. And if that's the case, I'll drop too. I'll put 1 more click on it. Okay, I'll let it go now. 27, there's one of those bad plants I was talking about. So now Kremmen's going to want to buy this. Like, Kremmen has to buy some sort of plant here. So this gives me another chance at a big plant after this. 30 won't be great, but 30 will still get some bidding, so I'll be able to at least put 30 up for bid and then drop it and get another chance after that if somebody goes past my comfortable range for that. Pass. Anything Kremmen puts up for bid here is auto pass. I want to look for a plant that powers 4 or more cities. At this point, I'm just looking at plants I can keep for the rest of the game. And in 5-player, the ending number of cities is 15. So like a 6-5-4, for example, is a very reasonable plant config for the end. If you have a 3-plant, it's harder to get to the end game level. I won't mind getting this at cost necessarily, although trash is going to be a hellhole. The only big duds left after this are 16 and 22. Yeah, sure. I mean, even though trash sucks, I'm still fine getting this at cost. 6 capacity plants are a big, big, big deal in 5-player games. Never mind, 31 just went at cost, and now 32 is going to go at cost, so okay, I'm fucked. Everybody gets a 6, and I get the worst 6. Alas. Yeah, now is when the big plants just start flooding. And remember that in 5 and 6-player games, we use the entire deck of power plants. None are removed from the deck, the way it is in 4 and smaller number games, 4-player and smaller. So sorfeyshin has to be in the lead now because 32 is just awesome at the moment, with there being no 26 in the game yet. I mean, it will come, it's just a matter of when. amitss still buying trash, which sucks for me. And ACL's probably going to buy trash too, I would assume. My hope is that I can build a city this turn, which I should be able to. I should at least be able to get, like, New Orleans, if nothing else. Kremmen's in a great position as far as making money, though. That's one thing I will say for them. The problem is all the 6s are already gone, so Kremmen's going to be in kind of a hole as far as capacity. We do still have both 20 and 26 on the horizon at some point here. Well, at least Sorfey can't build more than 6, so they're a little more behind on money than I thought. There goes Chicago for me. That's what I was hoping for. I'd like to get Omaha, but I somehow don't think that'll happen. I might, though. I might get Omaha here, which would be dreamy for me. Because Omaha's going to help me a good bit as far as expanding west goes at some point in the game. And it's just a really cheap city to grab right now. I think amitss is overall in the best position easily, considering he got both 21 and 31 at cost. That's like impossible to beat in 5-player. Kremmen sticks to West Coast, not expanding eastward. I expect amitss to stop using the 6, though. Hopefully, anyway. That's fingers crossed there. Okay, I need to think about this. I'll put in a bid for this because I can replace 12 with it. I could potentially go a turn without using trash here, which would serve me well. I think. Well, there's that dud I was hoping for. So that puts me in a good spot now, actually. Not great, but I do have the capacity lead for the moment at least. Hopefully I can drop in the turn order now. Because I'm just going to stay at 8 cities here. I expect Sorfey and ACL both to hopefully build above me this turn. ACL doesn't need to plant, ACL needs to build. And there's nothing too attractive here. I guess 16 in theory could look good, but not yet. ACL needs to build, make more money from the plants. Yeah, okay. Everybody passes, as it should be. So that's good news for me. Also, note that part of the consequence of 5-player is that we tend to get probably a slightly smaller step 3 market on average, because of more plants being bought each turn mean fewer turns before step 3. I would say that's probably how it works, even with the extra plants in the deck in 5-player. I am not even going to buy trash right now. I'm just waiting a turn so I can drop lower in the turn order before I buy trash. That's my thinking. If I can get bottom in the turn order, this would set me up well. Because we're looking at these same crap plants again on the next turn. If Sorfey and ACL both build above me, that would leave Kremmen as probably the only player who would stay below me, and I'm not even sure Kremmen will stay low. Kremmen is looking like they might build this turn, which I think is a mistake. I think Kremmen needs to stay bottom here. If I can actually get bottom in the turn order, that'll be huge for my chances of winning. Because we still have a little bit to go yet before step 3. And I could potentially set myself up to end the game early with the capacity lead if I get bottom in the turn order, because I have a lot of places to build out west. That's still not blocked yet. Sorfey builds above me. Good news. ACL I expect to build a 9, in which case I'm gladly staying at 8. Very surprised Sorfey doesn't go for New Orleans. That's what I would have expected them to do instead of Birmingham. New Orleans is still open for step 1 spots, so I think that was the better one to grab. And ACL makes the jump into the north, threatening the West Coast, which is a reasonable play. So there's 3 of us bordering the West now. Kremmen builds above me. All right. That's what I like to see. Because I'm just going to take my bottom spot in the turn order now. And I'm going to hopefully build up enough money where I can... Well, let's see. I need to see how I'm going to play this. Because I have to stay below amitss. Amitss is the player in the best position in terms of money plus capacity, long term, but their disadvantage is turn order, and I have to leverage that over him. I have to stay below him in turn order to have any chance of winning this. Yes, 22 in there. All right, that's the best thing that could have come for me. What happens is, if nobody buys a plant on this turn, we're going to be looking at most likely another turn with nothing higher than 3 on the market. Ooh, okay. Okay. Interesting buy from Kremmen. What I could do is just pass on building here and force one of these other players to build to 11 to stop Kremmen from ending it with a win at 11. Oh boy, there's 20. Well, there's 20 and 26 who both come, although 20 is the only one that can come before 23. I think I'm not even going to try to bid on 20. That's my hunch. I need to let some of these other players go crazy for 20. But this does ruin my plans of an early capacity win. ACL, I think, is the player who most clearly needs the 20 right now. They should fight hard for this. Although it's a valuable plant for, all of us on some level. Not me, not as much. ACL passes. What the heck? That's the player I expected that I thought needed the 20 the most. Well, all of us with 6s are the ones left to bid on 20. Pass. Really now? Well, I have to bid for this. This is bad. Problem with this now is... Okay, I have 1 coal here. I can move to the 20, which is fine. Buy the $2 oil for sure. I have to go into the West Coast, for sure. That's the best place for me here. All right. Really surprised 20 went that cheap, though. It's nice in that... Okay. All right. I can make more money if I run 30 this turn, but with a 20, I can hurt the other players a little bit more. Little bit more. I think I need to go for the money, though. Leaves me with 47. I'm really surprised amitss bought 23. That seems like a waste of money to me. Yeah, I think I'll run 30 and 29 of the plants I want to run this turn. I just need to take the twins and Billings. Those are the best for me right now. I guess 30 wasn't that much worse than 31 in retrospect. 32, on the other hand, was a monster, but Sorfey is not in the greatest position here. Like, I think their capacity deficit's already kind of taken them out of the game. I should be able to get to 15 on the next turn. Should be able to. Actually, probably not, now that I think about it. Now that I think about it, I'm not so sure about that. Sure, I probably can. I just need to buy 3 trash next turn, and that would be it. Problem is amitss. Amitss actually builds above me in the turn order, which is interesting. Would have expected him to stay below. Because next turn, step 3 building is going to open up. So, like, I feel like he's the biggest threat to me right now. Easily. The issue now is this. This is where it gets interesting. We have 26 next turn. People are going to have to fight like crazy for this plant. It is guaranteed to stay on this market. 50 will come in the next turn. After that, it'll be step 3 card, which will put 33 on. 33, then 34, then 36. 36 could be interesting. I don't think anyone would have the money to fully take advantage of it, though. So I'm still going to end up in the middle of the turn order here, which is cool. I'm okay with this. This could be kind of borderline. Actually, ACL being below me is a problem, since they're going to get to buy trash before me. So I'm kind of in the early capacity for the win strategy here. I don't know if it'll work, though. Like, I can't buy any plants this turn. $26 should be bid up very strong because 33 is the next plant to come, and that's lower capacity, which is a big deal right now. The game's going to end on this turn. I think I should be able to end it here. Should be able to. It's close, though. This is really close for me right now, whether I can end it. Here's what I could do. I mean, that's a decent cushion, but I'm not guaranteed to get all of these cities. In fact, Salt Lake, Kremmen will very likely take Salt Lake ahead of me. So that'll be an extra $5 there. Basically, I think what this comes down to is, I think if amitss gets the 26 for cheap, they're going to win the game. Hopefully Sorfey knows the score here and knows to bid a lot on 26. Really? That shocks me. I thought amitss was way ahead in terms of money and all that. This sets me up to win the game here, potentially. Because, yeah, amitss passes. I'm obviously going to pass. I just have to hope I can hit 15 this turn. If I hit 15 this turn, I win. If I don't, I lose. Simple as that. Kremmen might pass here. What's funny is that 33 actually helps Kremmen's base capacity and not ACL's. Because like 5-4 would be an improvement for Kremmen, albeit a very small one here. And that would drop 34 for ACL here, which would be a very big improvement for them. What I have to hope is that ACL builds into here instead of West Coast. That can really affect whether or not I can end the game here. If ACL makes a big build out west, that'll actually stop me from winning. Kremmen passes, all right. ACL actually buys 33. Long term, that's a bad move, but it signals that he might make a big build short term, which could be bad news for me. This is really close, y'all. This is real close. What's funny is I might have been better off burning coal instead of trash there. Powering 9 cities versus 10 would have made a difference of $7. Actually, I guess burning trash was probably still better. $20 will still turn out to be worth it even if I can't end it now, just because the base capacity will be useful for next turn, if there is a next turn. I still think amitss wins if there's a next turn, though. Gotta be the richest player out of all of us. Ooh, that's good news for me. ACL is not building out west. That's what I needed to see. Choosing to build the cheap East Coast instead. If ACL stops now, I win, I think. Because Kremmen can only take Salt Lake City and make that more expensive. But I still have other options. In fact, I could even build, like, New Orleans, which would be cheaper than Salt Lake. Wait, no, it wouldn't. Never mind. Salt Lake's still cheaper even as a Step 2 spot compared to Step 3 New Orleans. Yeah, whatever. Interesting build there. St. Louis. Not sure the reason for that. $15 ends the game, bruh. Stop now, ACL. If you're not in the capacity lead, you should stop now. If ACL builds one more city, that ends the game. Yep. That guarantees I win then. All right. I did not expect to pull this one out. I really thought amitss was doing better. Not sure why amitss didn't fight harder for some of the other plants like 20 and 26. amitss, I think, really screwed up this game not fighting for the capacity plants, 20 and 26. amitss really needed to bid higher on those plants because amitss had to go for 15. amitss was the only player who could realistically compete with me. I thought Sorfey would be good with 32 at cost with cheap oil. Anyway, holy shit, I pulled a win out of my ass here that I probably didn't deserve. All right, so this was one of those games where buying big capacity plants early and ending the game before step 3 is what wins. This was one of those games, but I think that's because I got all my plants at cost or close to it. I got 30 at cost, I got 29 for 30, and the 20 for 21. So I got all my plants at almost at cost. That's tough to beat in 5-player. So amitss had more money than me, but not by as much as I expected. All right. Well, that's the ball game, and that is, yeah, 5-player games tend to end before step 3, and this was an example of that. At least, I mean, end before the step 3 auction, I should say. We were in step 3 with building, just not the auction. Anyway, really glad to pull that one out, and see y'all later.